it's only fair that we start off the show by addressing one of the biggest losses that we've had this year. And sadly, Adam West, the actor who managed to keep his tongue in cheek while wearing the iconic cowl of the Caped Crusader in the classic 1960s series Batman, has died. He was 88. Adam West, he was at the pinnacle of pop culture after Batman debuted in January 1966, only to see his career fall victim to typecasting after the ABC show flamed out. He sadly died Friday night at Los Angeles after a short battle with leukemia, and that's what the family spokesperson has said. Adam West died peacefully surrounded by his family and is survived by his wife Marcel, 6 children, 5 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. So I love this medium. We have this podcast. It's because I love pop culture. I love comic books. I love films. And the primary reason why I do what I do is because of this show. I remember I was 7 or 8 years old when I started watching Batman 1966 in Star World. I still remember that every evening around about 5 or 5:30, the show used to air, and I used to watch every single episode. I think I watched every episode multiple times. He was one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do, and I just didn't know how to react to his death. I mean, I'm sure like age was catching up with him, but some deaths you just can't, you just don't deal with properly. So Adam West was one. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, even Chris Cornell passed away, and these were a couple of hits which I was not prepared for. And what has been his influence on your lives? Let's start with you, Arindam.
Yeah, like you, this was my introduction to the character. Like most of the people dismiss this show as being just parody, but you must remember we saw this like when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. He was the first memory of Batman that I had, and I did not know what is satire, what is parody back then. For me, that was Batman. That is what he was supposed to be. And later on, I read in the comics. Just because of that, I have more reverence towards his portrayal of Batman, and just because of that show, I respect the characters, or maybe I see them in the same light. For you must remember that Joker was in those episodes, but as much as I love Cesar Romero's portrayal, other characters like Riddler, Frank Gorshin, who played him amazingly, and Burgess Meredith played Penguin, and minor characters like the Clock King and King Tut, these were like, you remember these guys because they were more flamboyant. So just because of that, this gave you perspective, and this brought you into that entire world. And for me, this was such a colorful world. It stuck with me for this long. I really missed his portrayal. He was one of the most genuinely, I think Mark Bernardin yesterday in a tribute, he said that in a world that was like joking around, he never let the world know that he was in on the joke. So I think that was one of the most brutally honest things about Adam West. I loved his portrayal. He never thought that he was just doing a job. He was Batman. He never had to say that, I am Batman.
Uh,
He just stood up.
Actually, that's accurate description of how most of us will feel. Uh, for me, it's slightly different because my first introduction to Batman was through a very old DC comic that I had. It was I don't know where I got it from. It was a two-part issue. The first part of it was dedicated to Iron Man. The second part was Batman. So it was I think you understand it's like very different comics that somebody might have made by sticking two of
Stapled
those.
it, right.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know where I got it from, but it was a prized possession for a kid. So that was my first. But and I always thought of him as a different character. But when I got to watch your Adam West portrayal of Batman finally, I it actually took me to a different place because that is not what I had in mind. And it took me some time to get used to it because, as I said, it was not my introduction to Batman like it was for you guys. But at the same time, I can fully appreciate how important it was. Be looking at campy Batman and how important campy Batman is in setting up a lot of the tropes that TV has used, or even your movies are using today. You can actually see the influence. A lot of those influence you can see even in Bollywood movies. We can see a lot of those influences. That came. I do believe that came from the campy Batman, and it's not really something that we can take lightly. The passing of this guy is a very sad event that probably could have taken place at a later stage, but that's something that is not in our control, so there is nothing that we can do in it. But yeah, I think he has introduced us to a lot of great characters, a lot of characters that we'll probably never ever see in our lifetime. But one can hope for something, those niche supervillains to make an appearance. Just I would love to see something like that. Those niche supervillains. Batman in universe nowadays has become so uh, constrained in one sense. In that it has very limited number of arch nemesis or supervillains that Batman actually faces. So I'm not talking about the movies itself. I'm talking about the comics also. So it'll be fun to see something of that sort that was there um, in the Batman TV series to come out and have something like that today. I think I would love to see something like that.
And also, you must remember the people who watched it during its original run during the 60s. Those people, they grew up they had kind of a similar experience like us, because when they were kids, they did not realize it was parody, and they watched it with utter sincerity. People like Mark Waid and Jim Lee, and also later on people who developed all those animated TV shows. And then they gave a new lease to Adam West's career as a voice artist. Many people like Seth MacFarlane, etc., just cast him because he was Batman, and he was such an iconic actor and iconic memory from their childhood. So in Family Guy, he played Mayor Adam West. Amazing portrayal of him. He just played himself, but he was so funny. There was a deadpan sense to it, and I thought that was one of the best roles that he did. Also, Family Guy, they did these Star Wars episodes. It was like specials for them. So he played the role of Grand Moff Tarkin over there. It's a hilarious portrayal. Like, if you haven't checked it out yet, I think it's in Blue Harvest, the first one. So he was amazing in that role. Also, I really like the fact that the last two movies of his career that he's credited in, those are Batman animated movies. Two of them were recently made in vain to the original 60s shows, and he voiced these characters along with the original remaining cast members who were still alive, returning, like Burt Ward, who he played Robin, and there was some other, I think the one who played, no, yeah, one who played Catwoman also returned for the role.
If you have to move away from all from the Batman, the TV show, there's another 2003, I think. There's a movie which had come out. It's a spoof on the original 1966 Batman show, and it's called Return to the Batcave: The Misadventures of Adam and Bert. So that's a great comedy. If you want to watch it, I think it's available online. You guys can check that out. The story is Adam West, who is of course Batman, and Burt Ward, who is Robin. They go in search of the Batmobile after it's stolen, and along the way they find themselves forced to consult their memories to decipher clues left by the criminals. So it's a great tongue-in-cheek film. You guys can check that out. It's called Return to the Batcave: The Misadventures of Adam and Bert. And yeah, I agree with both of you. I think his influence on the entire spectrum of what makes Batman, the character, is undeniable. I mean, Michael Keaton is one of my favorite actors, and he has to go out of his way to say, like, in every goddamn thing that he does, that I'm Batman. It's cool. But Adam West never has to do that. He just knows, like Arindam said, he just knows that he just shows up and he is Batman. He's the first Batman. He'll always forever be my Batman, because he was my introduction to the character. Thanks for the memories, Batman. It was amazing while it lasted, and this just introduced someone like me, an 8-year-old, to this entire universe, which is just a part of me now. So just for that alone, I think Adam West will forever be our favorite Batman.